Hey everyone, it's Olive, and welcome back to Sister Wives Secrets, your inside scoop on everything Sister Wives. Now, if you're as frustrated and heartbroken as I am by what's been happening with the Brown family, trust me, you're not alone. From Cody's shocking neglect of his own kids to Robin's behind the scenes manipulation, things are unraveling in a way we never expected. And believe me, we're just getting started. But before we jump into all that drama, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video. I want to hear your thoughts on what's going on with this family. Do you think Cody is as guilty as I think he is? Or is there something we're missing? Drop your comments below and let's talk about it. It's truly heartbreaking to watch the Brown family, especially the children, constantly bear the emotional and physical toll of Cody's neglect. I mean, how many more of these painful moments do we have to witness? At the core of this season's most gut-wrenching events is Cody's absence during Isabel's spinal surgery. And you don't have to be a parent to understand how absolutely devastating this must have been for her. To think that Cody couldn't be bothered to show up for one of the most crucial moments in his daughter's life, while still managing to shift the blame onto others, well, it's just disgusting. I get emotional just thinking about Isabel, who, on top of dealing with her health issues, had to process the idea that her father wasn't even there for her. It's one thing to be physically absent, but to not even offer emotional support? To choose your own selfish priorities over your child's pain? This isn't just neglect, it's a straight up abandonment. But then, of course, Cody spins the whole thing into his victim narrative, making it seem like Christine was somehow the one responsible for the distance between him and Isabel. Isn't it funny, or rather infuriating, how Cody always finds a way to play the victim in every situation? Cody's manipulation tactics are textbook. He's masterful at shifting blame and playing the martyr, and his approach when it comes to Isabel's surgery is no exception. When he talks about it, he doesn't take responsibility for his absence. No, instead, he points the finger at Christine. He claims that Christine didn't let him be there, or that she made it difficult for him to attend. I mean, what? Are we really buying this? How does a grown man, a father, manage to get to a point where he can't even be bothered to make one of the most important commitments of a parent's life? Being there for their child? It's beyond frustrating. And honestly, I think it speaks volumes about his lack of accountability. Cody's entire narrative is about how hard his life is, how misunderstood he is, and how the world is out to get him. But, in reality, he's just a man who can't handle responsibility. And let's talk about the kids for a second. Particularly Gabe, who I think has been more awake to Cody's behavior than anyone else in the family. Gabe, as well as the other kids, have seen through Cody's facade. They've witnessed firsthand how Cody will flake out on important moments, and they know exactly what's been going on. Gabe, in particular, has been vocal about how Cody has continuously failed them. It's hard to watch how the relationship between Cody and his children has deteriorated over time. As the years go by, it becomes more and more evident that Cody's focus is on himself and his own needs, not on the well-being of his kids. The kids have grown up, and they've started to see things with a clarity that Cody obviously refuses to acknowledge. The emotional toll of this neglect isn't just a one-time thing, it's a pattern. And you can't help but wonder how many of these children are quietly grieving, not just for the absence of their father, but for the loss of what could have been. A father who loved them enough to show up for them when they needed him most. I'm sure that as Isabel laid on that operating table, with everything hanging in the balance, the one thing she needed most was for her father to be there, but instead she got empty words from a man who hides behind his own victimhood. It's heartbreaking. Now, if we're talking about the root of the dysfunction in the Brown family, we can't ignore the role Robin plays in all of this. Let's be real. Robin isn't just a passive bystander in Cody's chaos, she's the one stirring the pot, adding fuel to the fire, and ensuring the flames keep burning. I'm sure some of you might argue that Cody's issues are his own, and while that's true to an extent, we can't deny how Robin has played a central role in enabling and even amplifying his worst traits. Robin's influence over Cody has grown exponentially over the years, and we've all witnessed how she's essentially become the center of his universe. At the beginning, we saw the fairy tale side of Robin and Cody's relationship. Their love story was filled with soft glances, sweet moments, and the kind of passionate chemistry that seemed like it could heal all wounds. But now we see Robin in full manipulative mode, quietly and sometimes not so quietly, orchestrating how everything unfolds within the family. A perfect example of this is how she's been involved in sabotaging key family traditions, like those Friday night dinners that were supposed to be a cornerstone of their polygamous lifestyle. Remember those dinners? At one point, they were a symbol of family unity, a time for everyone to gather around and share a meal. But Robin's actions, her consistent undermining of those plans, made it all but impossible for them to be anything more than a forced, uncomfortable gathering. You can feel the tension in the air whenever the subject of family dinners comes up, and that's because Robin has managed to manipulate the situation to her advantage. She knows exactly how to alienate the other wives and keep Cody all to herself. Let's face it, Robin sabotaged those traditions, not just for the sake of her own happiness, but for control. And let's not even get started on the holidays. Remember how Cody and Christine used to make an effort to celebrate the holidays as a family? Well, that was before Robin came into the picture. She took every chance to create division by pitting Cody against the other wives and creating an atmosphere of mistrust. Robin knew exactly what she was doing. If she could make the other wives feel like they were being sidelined, it would only bring her closer to Cody and keep the family dynamics tilted in her favor. The holidays became a battleground where Robin had the upper hand. It was no longer about family traditions or holiday cheer. It became about her claiming her space, ensuring that Cody remained isolated from his other wives and children. Now, as for Robin and Cody's relationship, let's just say it's become much more than just love. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Robin holds a lot of power over him, perhaps more than anyone else in the family. We saw how Cody used to be open to hearing the voices of his other wives. He wasn't always this entrenched in his alliance with Robin, but over time, she's become the puppet master, pulling all the strings. She's managed to create this aura of dependency around Cody, making sure he feels like he needs her more than anyone else. And honestly, it's hard to watch. This isn't the relationship Cody used to have with his wives, but Robin has manipulated him into thinking that he deserves this kind of isolation. If you look at how Robin interacts with Cody now, it's clear that her strategy is about more than just love. It's about control. She doesn't want to simply be Cody's wife. She wants to be his only wife in terms of emotional intimacy, control, and power. And she gets there by using Cody's insecurities and emotional neediness to her advantage. If Robin can make him feel like he's misunderstood or like everyone else is the problem, she can keep him on her side. The emotional manipulation is so obvious now that it's hard to ignore. Cody has become so dependent on Robin for approval, affection, and validation that it's like watching a man slowly lose himself to a relationship that's more about her control than his own happiness. But what's truly disturbing is how Robin's behavior has changed since the beginning of her relationship with Cody. Initially, she seemed like the sweet and supportive wife who was just there to fill a gap, but now it's as if her true colors have started to show. She's not just the supportive wife anymore. She's the mastermind behind every little conflict that erupts between Cody and the other wives. It's as though her once subtle manipulation has become more intense with time. And I think we've all seen that shift. In the early days, Robin played the role of the victim just as much as Cody, but as time passed, she realized she didn't need to be a victim anymore. She could simply take control, pull the strings, and watch Cody spiral. And let's not overlook how Robin's actions have affected the children. She's not just manipulating Cody. She's creating an environment where the kids are becoming more and more distanced from their father. Her need to stay in control of the narrative is taking a toll on the relationships within the family. It's not just about her and Cody anymore. It's about power, manipulation, and keeping everyone else at arm's length. At this point, it's clear that Robin is no longer just the wife in the background. She's the one running the show, and she's willing to destroy the family to keep that power. The saddest part of all of this is how Robin has used her emotional manipulation to trap Cody in a cycle where he's convinced he can't live without her. And it's tragic to watch someone so entrenched in their own delusion that they can't see how badly they've lost touch with reality. Cody and Robin's relationship has become toxic, and it's not just affecting their connection, it's destroying the family dynamic as a whole. Let's talk about Cody's hypocrisy, shall we? The man who once promised his wives, especially Robin, that he would always be truthful and would never lie, is now the very definition of falsehood. It's honestly hard to watch, especially considering how he's handled the breakdown of his family over the years. Cody made it clear to Robin that he was going to be open and honest, that there would be no more hiding behind facades. Well, here we are, years later, and his actions speak louder than any words ever could. The promises he made to Robin about being transparent, about being a man of integrity, now feel like an empty charade. Every time he makes a choice to abandon his family, to distance himself from his children, his promises to Robin seem even more hollow. It's like watching someone who is desperately trying to convince themselves of their own lies. But here's the kicker. Cody has two sets of rules when it comes to his relationships. With Robin, he's all about justifying his actions, claiming that everything he does is to protect their love or to make things easier for her. But with his other wives, it's like he treats them as expendable. If something goes wrong or they need him, it's as if he's incapable of putting in the same effort. The double standard here is blatant, and it's not just frustrating for viewers to watch, it's emotionally exhausting for everyone involved. Cody has created a reality where he can treat his other wives as less than while excusing his own poor behavior with Robin. It's almost as if their needs and feelings don't matter at all anymore as long as Cody's getting the attention and validation he craves. This hypocrisy doesn't just hurt the wives, it's destroying his relationship with his kids. Let's take Gabe and Maddie, for instance. These two have been some of the most vocal about Cody's neglect, and for good reason. Cody used to be a father figure, a protector, someone who cared about their well being. But now, his actions have left an indelible mark on them. They see their father not as someone they can rely on, but as a man who's more interested in keeping his own comfort and ego intact than in nurturing his relationships with them. Gabe, in particular, has made it clear that he no longer trusts his father in the same way. Can you blame him? When you grow up seeing your father repeatedly choose himself and his own interests over the needs of his family, it's impossible to not feel a sense of betrayal. Maddie, too, has expressed her hurt over the way Cody has treated her and her siblings. It's painful to watch as they realize they no longer have the father figure they once depended on. And what's the long-term impact of all of this? As the years pass, it's clear that Cody's behavior is creating irreparable rifts. The family dynamic is changing, and not in a good way. The kids, especially the older ones, are beginning to see their father for who he really is, a man who claims to love them but doesn't show it through his actions. They see a father who promises to be there but always finds reasons not to be. They're beginning to pull away, emotionally and physically, and it's heartbreaking because that kind of emotional distance isn't something that's easy to undo. The family structure that Cody once prided himself on is crumbling. Where there was once a sense of unity and togetherness, there's now a growing sense of alienation. His children are distancing themselves from him, not because they want to, but because they feel they have no other choice. They're learning that words are meaningless if actions don't match. And let's not forget that while Robin may be standing by Cody's side, she's not saving the family from the fallout of his behavior. Her attempts to control Cody's every move only serve to keep him isolated further, which, in turn, makes the family's fracture even more apparent. What we're witnessing isn't just a family that's struggling to stay together. It's a family that's actively falling apart. The tension is palpable, and the emotional damage is becoming impossible to ignore. The longer Cody continues down this path of hypocrisy, the more irreparable the damage will be. His promises may have sounded sincere at the time, but his actions have proven otherwise. The real question is, how much longer will the family put up with this? And for Cody, how long before he realizes that the family he took for granted is slipping away? One child, one wife, at a time. In the midst of the chaos, Janelle has been nothing short of a stabilizing force for the family. While Cody and Robin's manipulative antics threaten to tear everything apart, Janelle quietly holds it all together, trying to keep things as normal as possible for the kids. Janelle's role in this family dynamic is so often understated, but it's becoming clear that without her, the entire structure would likely collapse. Despite all the emotional turmoil and dysfunction swirling around her, Janelle remains grounded, offering a semblance of stability for her children. Janelle has always been a more level-headed figure compared to the other wives, and that quality has become increasingly important as tensions have escalated. When Cody's neglect and inconsistent behavior left a void in the family, Janelle stepped up, working tirelessly to ensure that the children felt loved and protected, even when their father was nowhere to be found. She's been there for her kids in the face of Cody's emotional absence, providing them with the reassurance and comfort that they needed. Her response to the family drama has always been pragmatic. She doesn't seek the spotlight, but her presence offers a sense of calm in the storm. Even when the family's struggles become more intense, Janelle maintains her composure. She refuses to get swept up in the chaos, choosing instead to focus on the well being of her children and keep things running as smoothly as possible. There's something quietly powerful in the way she carries herself, and it's become evident that without her, Cody's neglect and Robin's manipulation would leave a lasting scar on the entire family. While Cody and Robin continue to create chaos, Janelle quietly persists, a mother and a matriarch who refuses to let her family fall apart. Let's take a moment to rewind and look back at the early days of this family, the sister wives we all initially came to know and love. When this family first hit the screen, there was a sense of unity, of cohesion that felt genuine. We saw Cody juggling multiple wives with apparent ease, and the wives, while distinct individuals, all seemed to share a collective sense of purpose. They were committed to their unconventional lifestyle, and it appeared that their bond was unshakable. There were moments of joy, laughter, and love that captured viewers' hearts. It seemed like the Brown family could weather anything together, but looking back now, it's clear that the cracks were always there, hidden beneath the surface. At first, everything seemed to work, but as the years went on, things slowly began to unravel. The arrival of Robin was a pivotal moment, a turning point that would set the stage for everything that came after. Robin entered the family with a softness that initially seemed like the perfect complement to Cody's hectic life. But as time went on, it became increasingly clear that her arrival marked the beginning of the family's downfall. Robin wasn't just another wife. She was a catalyst for change, an agent of division. While it's easy to place the blame solely on her, it's also important to note that Cody's role in the dysfunction was equally as significant. Cody's emotional neglect of his other wives grew more pronounced once he became more emotionally and physically involved with Robin. The fact that he began spending increasing amounts of time with her while neglecting the needs of Mary, Janelle, and Christine was a glaring signal that the dynamics had shifted. This wasn't a family that could weather the storms anymore. It was a family divided by loyalty, attention, and love. Robin's influence over Cody was undeniable, and as she became the focal point of his world, the other wives were left to pick up the pieces. The fractures grew deeper over time, and we witnessed this more acutely as Christine and Mary started to experience their own emotional and physical distance from Cody. The most telling moment came when Christine, the once dedicated wife who had long been part of Cody's core, made the heart-wrenching decision to leave him. Her departure was the final nail in the coffin for what seemed like a united family. Christine's exit symbolized the collapse of the family unit, marking the moment when everything they had once fought for began to crumble. Then there were the public confrontations, the increasingly uncomfortable exchanges in front of the cameras. There was the infamous moment when Cody essentially dismissed Mary, and we saw the emotional fallout from their years of unresolved tension. The fractures were no longer invisible. They were out in the open for everyone to see. The way Cody played the victim in these situations, especially when Christine left, further revealed the dysfunction within the family. Cody seemed incapable of accepting any responsibility for the way his actions had eroded the relationships with his other wives. He blamed Christine for the collapse without acknowledging the role he played in pushing her away. The most recent events have been the most telling. The dramatic breakdowns, the arguments, and the silent treatment. The kids, who were once seen as a symbol of unity in the family, have now grown up and started to see through their father's actions. The family has become fractured beyond repair, with Cody losing the trust and love of many of his children. Even the small moments, like Isabel's spinal surgery, which Cody completely skipped, have become emblematic of how Cody's priorities shifted away from his family to his own selfish desires. These events, the emotional neglect, the manipulation, and the refusal to take accountability have been the key moments that sealed the fate of this family. What started as an unconventional but seemingly loving family has devolved into something entirely different. The camaraderie that once existed between the wives and children has been replaced with resentment, distance, and distrust. Cody and Robin's control over the narrative, the shifting dynamics, and the eventual collapse of the relationships within the family paint a picture of a family that could not survive the weight of its own dysfunction. It's a tragedy, really, and it's hard not to feel for those children who were caught in the middle of it all. As we wrap up today's deep dive, it's impossible to ignore the destructive ripple effect Cody and Robin's relationship has had on everyone around them. What was once a family, built on love and unity, has now become a tragic story of manipulation, neglect, and control. Cody's actions, his emotional abandonment of his wives, his children, and his blatant favoritism toward Robin, have left scars that won't fade easily. Robin, who once seemed like the sweet and supportive new addition, has evolved into the central figure orchestrating the downfall of what was once a family in harmony. Together, they've created a toxic atmosphere that's cost them not just their marriages, but also their relationships with their children and extended family. So, what do you think? Will Cody and Robin ever truly face the consequences of their actions? Or will they continue to manipulate the narrative to their advantage? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear what you think. If you enjoyed today's commentary and want more insider analysis on the Brown family, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. I'm planning to dive even deeper into the family's complex dynamics and explore the latest shocking revelations. Stay tuned for more. Until then, take care, and I'll see you soon on Sister Wives Secrets.